I had my sermon all figured out. And this happens every so often to me. I don't think I'm the only preacher. I had my sermon all figured out as of yesterday, dinner time. And I was making a special dinner requested by my stepdaughter, Rachel. Her birthday was 2 days ago. And for yesterday's dinner, she requested barbecued chicken and mashed potatoes and cucumber tomato salad. And I make my cucumber tomato salad the way my grandfather taught me how to make it, with lots of olive oil and salt. Yes, don't be shy with the salt on that. Some ground black pepper, some red wine vinegar, and a small garlic clove, finely minced, mixed in there. But it was making the mashed potatoes. And I learned how to make the mashed potatoes from my mom, who learned from her mom. And so I was playing some Scotch-Irish music, Canadian flavored, group called Glengarry Boys. So I'm listening to the music, I'm feeling the heritage. I'm making mashed potatoes like the Irish, and I'm cutting up those potatoes, and I'm standing there at the cutting board, and for a moment, I had a flashback. And it was pretty intense. My knife, my very fancy, expensive knife, turned into my mom's kitchen knife that she had had for years and years, even as I was using it back in high school and college when I lived with my parents. And my cutting board, my bamboo cutting board, turned into my mother's cutting board. And for a moment, the kitchen looked like my mom's kitchen. And my kitchen, the layout is just like my mother's kitchen. When I'm standing at the cutting board, the sink's here. There's kind of like a corner here, and the stove's here. And I could hear my folks fighting in the background in that moment. And it was like that. It was a flash. And then it was gone. Everything was back. My knife, my cutting board, my kitchen, and my heart started to race. And whenever I have a moment, I wear a fancy watch because this keeps track of my heart rate, and I can see how high my heart rate spikes, whether I'm having an anxiety attack or panic attack, and that's what was happening. Got up to about 200, which I know is the top end for my heart. I went and I sat down, and I got into my posture for deep breathing, and I did my grounding techniques. I focused on the environment around me. In about a minute and a half, I was able to bring my heart rate down from that high level back down to normal. And to be able to do that takes years of practice. I've been having these panic and anxiety attacks for years now. And I got back up, and I resumed cooking dinner, and dinner was wonderful. We had a wonderful evening. I didn't tell Debbie about the episode until we went up for the night, and we were kind of just talking about the day, and I shared with her. But as I resumed cooking, I just had great gratitude. Gratitude that after years of dealing with panic and anxiety attacks, and even an occasional flashback like that, that I could get it under control with all the practice, that I could just resume, that it didn't take hours and hours to kind of get my equilibrium back. I was still feeling a bit off for the rest of the evening, but not the way it used to be. And I was thankful. And I couldn't help but think of when I went on disability because of the anxiety attacks. I was at a point where I was having 4, 5, 6, sometimes even 8 a day. And that's when I went to the emergency room. And I was on disability from doing regular ministry for about 1.5 years. And I worked at Home Depot after a while. And I got to know the people at Home Depot, my coworkers. Some of them were college students, juniors, seniors in high school who were old enough to work there. And, you know, they kind of had their lives and what was going on. And they kind of came and went. But then there were the people who had been there for a long time, the full-grown adults. Some of them retired, and this is kind of what they did. And then those who, this was their job. This was the job that paid the bills. This was the job that helped them raise their kids. And how they worked for peanuts. I mean, can you imagine trying to make ends meet, earning $12, $13 an hour? That's how much they earn right now. Back when I was working, it was $11 an hour. Can you imagine? I encourage you to do the math in your head. And because they needed this job so badly to make the ends meet, and there was no real opportunity for advancement, a little bit, but not substantial increase in pay. And these people each had their own stories. They each had their own stories. And there was a time where I gave serious consideration. I was not sure if I would go back to being a pastor in a parish. I would return to this. I didn't know if that's what God would be calling me to do. If I would be able to do this. This is one of the most stressful jobs a person can have. They rank jobs and how stressful they are. Pastors usually right there in the top 10, if not the top 5. And I remember the customers. I remember the customers. Some of the customers were wonderful. We got to know. Most customers came in, bought their stuff, and left and didn't even look at you. And then there were the customers who gave you a hard time. Some of them gave you a hard time because they were having a hard day. Maybe something was done wrong or out of place. They were frustrated and they were just kind of losing it a bit. And then there were the customers that went beyond that. I remember a customer telling a mother, a coworker, a mother, that if she'd made better decisions in her life, she wouldn't be working at a Home Depot. And the venom in her voice. She didn't know this person. She didn't know her story. Yeah, for a while there, I wasn't sure if I was going to work a job any other job than a Home Depot job. Seriously considered what my future would look like. Today, Jesus goes to a banquet with the Pharisees. They are at the top of society. And they're watching Jesus closely. They want to know where Jesus is going to sit. They want to know where each other are going to sit. Who's doing the best? Who has the best reputation? Who wields the most power? Who sits in the place of honor? Who does the host want sitting next to them to get the most influence with, to benefit from the most? They had their routine. They knew each other. They were friends. And their seats over time changed, most likely based on who was doing the best in society. And here's the newcomer, Jesus, with all these followers. Where is he going to sit? Is he going to take the place of honor? Well, if he takes the place of honor, we're going to have to cut him down. And if he doesn't take the place of honor, if he sits in a place of least honor, well, then he confirms that we are better than him. Oh, they were very curious as to where Jesus was going to sit. And Jesus confronts them. Sit in the place of lowest honor. That when the host comes, they ask you to go to the seat of the highest honor, versus being asked to get up and go to the lowest seat. Those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who are humble will be exalted. And you, the host, don't invite your family, your friends, the rich. Invite those who are blind, those who are lame. Those who are poor. And you will be blessed because they cannot repay you, for you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous. We haven't changed a whole lot since then. There are so many ways that in our society we stratify ourselves, that we judge each other based on what we wear. We judge each other based on our level of education. We judge ourselves based on our skin color, the way our faces look. We judge ourselves based on our sex and sexuality. We judge ourselves based on how long your family or you have been in this country. The whole labor movement of Labor Day is about valuing honest labor. And even more important, valuing the laborers. Yes, I know we're a democracy. We all have the vote. We're all supposed to be equal. But let me tell you, what I saw working at Home Depot, we're not. We are not. We can come up with all kinds of excuses as to why our society has the injustices it has, why we're so socially stratified. Of course, the most ancient of which is, well, had you made better decisions, you would have a better life. Well, let me tell you, yesterday when I had my anxiety attack, I didn't choose to have it. And back when having an anxiety attack would basically make me not very functional for a couple hours, I didn't have a whole lot of control over the impact upon me. There are people who live the lives they do. Everyone lives the lives they do for reasons. That each of us is created in the image of God. We are each deserving of compassion. Let mutual love continue. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers. By doing that, some have entertained angels without knowing. Remember those who are in prison, as though you were in prison with them. Think about that. Remember those who are in prison as though you are in prison with them. Sure, there are consequences to our decisions, and some of us make bad decisions and pay the consequences for them. Who made the rest of us judge and jury and punisher to keep punishing them? It's not about deserving. Remember those who are in prison as though you were in prison with them. This isn't questioning whether they deserve to be in prison or not. It doesn't say, remember those who are in prison who don't deserve to be in prison. Go be with them as if you're in prison and don't deserve to be in prison too. Don't bother with those who deserve to be in prison. It does not make a distinction. And our hearts can become so hardened to one another without our realizing it. And that is the case of these Pharisees. They believe they are righteous. They believe they follow God's commandments. They believe that they are loving to their neighbor. They've convinced themselves to the point where Jesus doesn't even try to talk to them about having compassion. They're at a point beyond it. The only way he can talk any justice into them, any compassion into them, is to make it about their self-interest. And you will be blessed because they cannot repay you. For you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous. It's not good enough to just be kind to them, to love them as though they're created in the image of God that they've become so blind to. No, go do this. I mean, Jesus is actually having compassion upon these people as he's trying to teach them. He's saying the words that they're most likely going to be able to hear, which is not compassion. It's, oh, you will be rewarded at the resurrection of the righteous. Every so often, there'll be a commercial on TV. I know I bust on commercials all the time, but these commercials, they'll portray a bunch of people together, usually around a dinner table or some type of meal, and there are bright, glowing smiles on their faces. There's usually a diversity of people around the table, and they are just thoroughly enjoying themselves. Usually that image is accompanied with some type of restaurant or vacation or product that's on the table or something to get you to spend your money. If you spend your money, you'll be able to have this type of experience with your friends or with your family. But it's a powerful image. We desire that kind of community. We crave it, and we crave it more now than ever. An online interaction just isn't quite the same as that. We want to be able to sit among loved ones with our heads cocked back, laughing at a joke, or comment, or just thoroughly enjoying the people around us, having the people around us thoroughly enjoy us. I don't think the dinner Jesus went to looked like that. They may have pretended, they may have thought they were having that, but well, for those type of interactions to happen, the thing the commercials don't tell you, and it's not right up on the surface for our scripture lessons either. It requires trust and vulnerability to be deeply loved. There can be all the love in the world, but there's no trust or vulnerability in that gathering, or if one person at gathering does not have that trust and vulnerability, they'll feel all that love cascading around them, but not soaking in. Have you ever had a meal with the poor, with the crippled, with the lame, with the blind? Have you ever sat down at a meal with the people who struggle the most? To sit with them and eat with them long enough for them to see your humanity, for you to see their humanity, to be humbled, and then exalted with the love that's in the room. Try it. If you're curious about a place where you can go and have that kind of experience, I'm going to put her on the spot, but you can talk to Joan back there. You can talk to Rona. You can talk to Nancy. They know a place where you can go. Make you appreciate life a whole lot more. So on this Labor Day, as we look at our fellow citizens all around us, as we look at what's happening in our society, let us look for the image of God in one another, in all of us. And let us love that image of God in one another. And I would be remiss as your pastor if I did not bring up all the people being arrested in our society in greater numbers and how they're being arrested. I know there's lots of political arguments that go in various directions on this. But I can't help but wonder, those who are being arrested, whether they're being rightly held accountable or not. I don't want to debate that. I do have an opinion. I don't want to debate that. Whether they're being rightly held accountable or not. All these people in our society being arrested. Folks, unmarked uniforms and with masks on their face. As they're being arrested, those who arrest them, do they see the image of God in them? Is there any love there? Or do their voice and the touch of their hand have the disdain that woman had for my coworker in the Home Depot? Amen.